Hey everyone, ready to dive deep into the world of Rush Hour 2? Released on August 3, 2001. This film has sparked endless discussions, and today, we're uncovering every thrilling detail. If you enjoy this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us grow. And for more incredible movie explorations and hidden gems, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's unravel the magic behind this cinematic masterpiece. On a hot summer day, August 3, 2001, moviegoers were treated to an explosive blend of comedy, action, and cultural charisma with the release of Rush Hour 2. Riding high on the unexpected but phenomenal success of the original Rush Hour in 1998, the sequel was one of the most highly anticipated films of the early 2000s. It did not disappoint. With the unbeatable chemistry of Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker back on screen, Rush Hour 2 not only delivered more of what audiences loved, it elevated the buddy cop genre with dazzling martial arts, rapid-fire comedy, and a slick international storyline that took viewers from the buzzing streets of Hong Kong to the high-rolling chaos of Las Vegas. The result? A film that didn't just entertain, it became a cultural moment. There's something magnetic about the pairing of Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. On paper, it might seem like an odd match. One, a global martial arts icon known for his disciplined approach to action and stoic screen presence. The other, a fast-talking, joke-slinging comedian whose high-energy improvisation could derail the most tightly wound script. But together, they created a dynamic unlike anything else on screen at the time. Chan brought the action, Tucker brought the laughs, and both brought heart. Their chemistry was the lightning in a bottle that made Rush Hour work, and in Rush Hour 2, it's like they turned up the voltage. The film takes everything that made the first one great and dials it up. The action is sharper, the jokes are faster, the stakes are higher, and the locations are grander. Set immediately after the events of the first film, Rush Hour 2 opens with LAPD Detective James Carter thinking he's in for a peaceful vacation in Hong Kong. He's there to unwind, see the sights, maybe hit a few clubs. But Chief Inspector Lee, his partner and friend, has other plans. When a bomb explodes at the U.S. Consulate General, killing 2 customs agents, Lee is thrust into a dangerous investigation that's anything but routine. What Carter thought was going to be a break from crime fighting turns into another whirlwind of chaos, car chases, and cross-continental criminal activity. As the story unfolds, the central mystery deepens. The man Lee believes to be behind the bombing is Ricky Tan, a former Hong Kong police officer turned crime boss with a shadowy connection to Lee's past. John Lone plays Tan with a chilling calmness that makes him a compelling and unpredictable villain. He's not just a criminal mastermind, he's personal. Tan is suspected of having a hand in the death of Lee's father, and that history adds emotional weight to every confrontation. The movie's narrative is propelled by this layered relationship, turning what could have been a routine action flick into a story about vengeance, legacy, and justice. But even with that emotional core, Rush Hour 2 never forgets its tone. It's a comedy first, and Chris Tucker ensures the laughs never stop coming. From trying to communicate with locals using a made-up blend of English, Cantonese, and swagger, to getting himself kicked out of a massage parlor for being too enthusiastic. Carter is the perfect comic foil to Lee's composed intensity. Yet, the film never reduces Tucker to a clown. His character, though often ridiculous, has moments of clarity, bravery, and real loyalty. You believe in the friendship between Lee and Carter because it's written and performed with surprising depth. And let's talk about the visuals. Brett Ratner's direction in Rush Hour 2 is often overlooked, but the film is a polished piece of blockbuster filmmaking. The Hong Kong sequences are alive with neon energy, tight alleyways, and soaring skyscrapers that give Chan ample room to perform his signature stunts. Every action scene is thoughtfully choreographed, and Chan, known for doing all his own stunts, continues to blur the line between fight choreography and slapstick. Whether he's sliding through a tiny teller window or using a steering wheel as a weapon in a car chase, his physical storytelling is unmatched. It's balletic, it's dangerous, and it's always inventive. The shift to Las Vegas in the second half of the film is a masterstroke. The glitz and glamour of Sin City offer a perfect backdrop for the film's climax, filled with casino infiltration, secret tunnels, and a heist involving counterfeit money printed on plates smuggled out of China in priceless antiques. This wild, this slick, this classic Hollywood caper with a kung fu twist. The Red Dragon casino sequence, in particular, is a standout, combining suspense, comedy, and action into a single stretch of filmmaking that's both visually arresting and narratively satisfying. A big part of the film's charm comes from its supporting cast. Roselyn Sánchez plays Isabella Molina, a U.S. Secret Service agent working undercover. She's not just eye candy or a love interest. She's competent, strategic, and crucial to unraveling the conspiracy. Zhang, fresh off her international breakout in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, plays Hu Li, Ricky Tan's enforcer. She doesn't speak much, but she doesn't need to. Her presence is felt in every scene, and her fight sequences, fluid, fast, and ferocious, make her a standout in an already packed ensemble. The female characters here, while limited in screen time, are memorable, capable, and never damsels in distress. But what truly makes Rush Hour 2 extraordinary isn't just the comedy, the fights, or the globe-trotting glamour. It's how effortlessly it blends all these elements together. The film walks a tightrope between genres: buddy comedy, action thriller, mystery, even a bit of romance, and never loses its balance. It's accessible but smart, fast-paced but never rushed, silly but with stakes that matter. That's not easy to pull off, and it's why this movie stands out even 2 decades later. Culturally, Rush Hour 2 landed at a moment when Hollywood was just beginning to embrace more diverse storytelling, even if clumsily at times. Jackie Chan had already been a legend in Asia for decades, but Rush Hour and its sequel introduced him to millions of American viewers in a new way. Suddenly, martial arts weren't just a gimmick, they were part of a broader narrative structure. Tucker, meanwhile, brought the Black American comedic voice into an international setting without being sidelined or sanitized. These two didn't just complement each other, they elevated one another. The film proved that you didn't need to stick to one cultural lens to tell a compelling story. In fact, breaking those barriers was what made it work. It's also worth noting how Rush Hour 2 became a box office juggernaut. With a budget of $90 million, it grossed over $347 million worldwide, proving that the appetite for multicultural, multilingual, globally set action comedies was not only real, it was profitable. The film was quoted endlessly, played on cable TV for years, and sparked 1,000 imitators. Its success made way for more Eastern-Western crossovers and reaffirmed the power of well-executed sequels. But perhaps most importantly, Rush Hour 2 is just pure fun. It's the kind of movie you can throw on at any time and still find yourself laughing, gasping, and enjoying the ride. The soundtrack is vibrant, the pacing is tight, and the bloopers over the credits are a warm reminder that behind all the action and spectacle, this was a movie made by people who were having the time of their lives. You feel that energy, you feed off it, and it sticks with you long after the final scene. So why dive deeper into Rush Hour 2? Because it's more than just a sequel. It's a snapshot of early 2000s Hollywood at its most bold, diverse, and entertaining. It captures lightning in a bottle. 2 stars at the height of their powers. A story that keeps you guessing, and action that leaves you breathless. Whether you're watching it for the 100th time or experiencing it fresh, Rush Hour 2 is a reminder of what movies can do when they're made with energy, love, and just the right amount of chaos. The sun rises over the vibrant skyline of Hong Kong, casting golden light on a city teeming with energy, life, and hidden danger. Amid the hustle of the metropolis, 2 familiar figures step onto the scene. Detective James Carter, loud, confident, and blissfully unaware of the storm ahead, and Chief Inspector Lee, calm, focused, and carrying the weight of a new mission he hasn't yet shared. From the very first frame, Rush Hour 2 wastes no time. This isn't just another reunion. This is the beginning of a dangerous unraveling. Carter believes he's on vacation, a long overdue one, as he reminds Lee repeatedly. He's dressed to party, sunglasses on, head bobbing to a beat only he can hear, ready to experience all Hong Kong has to offer. It's nightlife, it's women, it's food, and a long break from crime scenes and shootouts. But Lee's eyes tell a different story. He's not here for leisure. He's here to investigate a series of suspicious bombings, and he's not letting it go, even if Carter thinks this trip is all about kicking back. The difference in their motivations is immediate and sharply drawn. Carter wants dim sum and karaoke. Lee wants justice. Then comes the explosion. A bomb rips through the U.S. Consulate General, killing 2 American customs agents. The blast is deafening, the fireball lighting up the screen and the narrative. Carter, shaken but unharmed, suddenly realizes this isn't a vacation. It's a war zone. Lee, meanwhile, shifts instantly into action mode, his suspicions confirmed. This wasn't random. This was targeted. The fingerprints on the bomb lead to one name, Ricky Tan. Ricky Tan, a ghost from Lee's past and a name that sends immediate tension through the story. Once a high-ranking officer in the Hong Kong police, Tan was disgraced and disappeared into the shadows, rumored to have deep ties to the Triads. But for Lee, this case is personal. Ricky Tan was once the partner of Lee's late father, also a police officer, whose mysterious death was never fully explained. Lee has always suspected Tan played a role in that tragedy. And now, 2 decades later, Tan's name surfaces again, in connection to a deadly bombing. This is no coincidence. This is a reckoning. Meanwhile, Carter struggles to adjust to the Hong Kong environment. He's loud in a quiet culture, expressive in a city of subtleties. He tries to flirt with local women in butchered Cantonese, struts into a massage parlor like a celebrity, and manages to offend nearly everyone he meets without even realizing it. Yet somehow, his charm, infuriating as it is to Lee, keeps him from total disaster. But Carter's antics, while hilarious, also serve a narrative purpose. They highlight how out of place he is in Lee's world. He's used to being the loudest voice in the room, but here he's just noise. And that tension builds with every scene. Their search for Ricky Tan brings them to a high-rise office building where Tan is allegedly holding a meeting. It's their first real lead, and Lee wastes no time breaking in. What follows is a tightly choreographed fight sequence that is pure Jackie Chan. Fluid, inventive, and packed with improvised weaponry. Chairs, desks, window blinds. Everything becomes a potential instrument of justice in Lee's hands. Chan's stunts are not just impressive. They're storytelling. Every flip, kick, and dodge is a conversation, a punctuation mark in a physical language only he speaks fluently. But when they finally confront Ricky Tan, he's calm, composed, and frustratingly evasive. He acts surprised to see Lee, smiles, offers no answers. Then something unexpected happens. Lee, Tan's silent, deadly associate, enters the room and delivers a crushing blow to Tan himself. He collapses, seemingly lifeless, in front of Carter and Lee. Before they can process what just happened, Lee vanishes into thin air. The mystery deepens. Was Ricky Tan the mastermind, or just a pawn in something larger? The action doesn't let up. The duo's investigation leads them next to a swanky Hong Kong yacht party filled with suspicious figures, expensive suits, and whispered deals. It's here that we meet Isabella Molina, played by Roselyn Sánchez. She's elegant, confident, and clearly more than just another party guest. She shares a flirtatious exchange with Carter, who, of course, tries to woo her with his usual blend of bravado and clueless charm. But Molina is on a mission of her own. She claims to be a customs agent investigating counterfeit smuggling tied to the bombing. Whether she's friend or foe isn't clear yet, but it's obvious she's hiding something. As the puzzle pieces begin to click, we learn more about the scope of the operation. The bombings weren't isolated acts of violence. They were cover-ups, distractions meant to keep eyes off a massive counterfeiting ring. Millions of dollars in fake U.S. currency are being printed with such precision that even experts can't tell the difference. The key? Specialized printing plates, stolen and now in the hands of the Triads. It's an international crime of staggering scale, and Lee and Carter are caught in the center. But it's not just danger they're navigating, it's trust. Their partnership begins to show cracks as Lee becomes more consumed by his vendetta against Ricky Tan. Carter, still trying to make sense of the cultural and emotional stakes, feels sidelined. He doesn't know the history. He doesn't understand the weight Lee carries. That tension erupts in one of the film's best character moments. An argument in the rain, where Carter accuses Lee of shutting him out, of treating him like a sidekick instead of a partner. Lee, in turn, accuses Carter of not taking anything seriously. It's raw, human, and it reveals how deeply they care. Not just about the case, but about each other. Their confrontation doesn't last long, because Lee strikes again. In one of the movie's most breathtaking action set pieces, she plants another bomb, this time targeting them directly. The blast throws them into chaos, and once again, Lee barely escapes with his life. Carter, though still recovering from the shock, finally understands. This isn't just another case. This is life and death. And now he's fully in. Their investigation leads to another revelation. The counterfeit money is being smuggled in through Chinese art pieces being shipped overseas. The art is a front. The bills hidden inside priceless artifacts that no customs officer would ever question. It's genius, and it explains the high-level involvement. Someone with government connections is helping move the fake currency across borders, and whoever it is, they're covering their tracks with violence. With every new clue, the story accelerates. The tension thickens. Every lead opens a new door, and every ally might be a double agent. Isabella Molina, despite her charm, raises more questions than she answers. She appears at key moments with just enough information to stay relevant, but never enough to be fully trusted. Carter suspects she's hiding something. Lee wants to believe in her. That conflict adds yet another layer of suspense to the unfolding drama. All signs point to a final, high-stakes move. Whoever's behind this is taking the operation to American soil. The printing plates, the counterfeit bills, the smuggling routes, all of it is leading to Las Vegas. And not just any Vegas. The Red Dragon Casino, a glittering, ominous fortress of vice where East meets West. Money flows without question, and secrets are buried in neon lights. The first half of the film ends not with resolution, but with escalation. The calm before the storm. As Carter and Lee prepare to leave Hong Kong, there's a sense that what lies ahead will be even more dangerous than what they've already survived. They're not just chasing criminals anymore. They're chasing ghosts, power, and truth. And for Lee, it's becoming increasingly clear. The answers he's been looking for since childhood are finally within reach. But getting them may cost more than he's ready to give. And so, the first half of Rush Hour 2 leaves us breathless. We've seen betrayals, explosions, rooftop fights, steamy yacht parties, and quiet emotional reckonings. The tone is set dangerous, fast-paced, unpredictable. The twists are in place. The alliances are shaky. And the true scale of the conspiracy is only just beginning to show its face. But what's already clear is that this is no ordinary sequel. This is a story about partnership, purpose, and the things we'll risk to set the past right. And it's only just getting started. The bright lights of Las Vegas flash across the screen like a call to action, a promise of answers wrapped in glitz and chaos. As the second half of Rush Hour 2 begins, Carter and Lee touch down on American soil, leaving behind the shadows of Hong Kong but bringing the full weight of their investigation with them. Vegas is their next battlefield, and the stakes are higher than ever. Not just for justice, but for redemption, revenge, and survival. The narrative accelerates, the danger multiplies, and every character is drawn deeper into a web of lies, loyalties, and explosive confrontations. From the moment they arrive in Las Vegas, the energy shifts. It's louder, flashier, and more unpredictable. The Red Dragon Casino looms large, both a literal and symbolic centerpiece of the operation they're trying to dismantle. It's owned by Stephen Rain, an American businessman whose charm barely conceals his ruthless ambitions. Rain is more than a shady casino mogul. He's a major player in the counterfeiting ring, using his empire as the final stage of a massive money laundering operation. The casino, with its opulent decor and labyrinthine interior, becomes a character of its own. Seductive on the surface, dangerous beneath. As Carter and Lee make their way inside, they know they're walking into the lion's den. Everything they've uncovered so far, the stolen printing plates, the assassinations, the betrayals, it's all converging here. Rain isn't alone. Ricky Tan is alive and well, having faked his death in Hong Kong as part of an elaborate ruse to stay one step ahead of the authorities. His resurrection is a punch to the gut for Lee, who has been haunted by Tan's legacy for years. And now the ghost is real. Tan's return escalates the emotional stakes. For Lee, this isn't just a case anymore. It's personal closure. He confronts Tan in a chilling face-to-face moment, demanding answers about his father's death. Tan, with his usual composed menace, confirms what Lee has feared all along, that his father was betrayed from within, and that betrayal led directly to Tan's rise to power. But before Lee can act, the encounter is interrupted by Lee, who once again proves she's the deadliest presence in the room. She detonates yet another explosive and vanishes into the smoke, leaving chaos behind. With the casino now officially under siege, Carter and Lee are forced to improvise. Their mission shifts from investigation to survival. They split up, weaving through the casino's twisting corridors and opulent gaming floors in pursuit of both Tan and the stolen printing plates. Carter, who spent most of the movie as comic relief, finally steps into hero territory. He engages in a brawl that's both hilarious and thrilling, using his environment, slot machines, blackjack tables, even a giant dice display, to level the playing field. His growth becomes clear. He's no longer just the loud partner with jokes. He's a force to be reckoned with. Meanwhile, Lee's confrontation with Tan reaches its boiling point. The two engage in a brutal rooftop fight above the Red Dragon, fists flying against a backdrop of fireworks and city lights. It's a culmination not just of plot threads, but of emotional history. Lee's style, measured, precise, is met by Tan's ruthless aggression. Their fight is more than choreography. It's release, it's revenge, it's everything Lee's been holding in since his father died. When Lee finally defeats Tan, watching him fall to his death, it's not just the end of a villain. It's the end of a burden. But the story isn't over. The counterfeit operation must be dismantled, and Lee still lurks in the shadows. Isabella Molina, whose loyalties have been questioned throughout, finally reveals her hand. She's been working undercover for the U.S. Secret Service all along. She joins Carter and Lee in their final push, navigating the hidden layers of the casino to locate the printing plates. Their objective: shut down the operation, retrieve the plates, and stop the fake currency from hitting the global market. The climax unfolds in a secret vault beneath the casino, where the printing plates are housed under heavy guard. Lee, fierce and relentless, stands as the final barrier. Her showdown with Lee is explosive, every move sharp and deadly. Unlike Ricky Tan, Lee doesn't speak much, her silence makes her even more terrifying. She doesn't need words to express her dedication to the mission or her hatred for Lee. Their battle is intense and personal, a final confrontation that tests Lee's skill and resolve. At the peak of their struggle, Carter intervenes, saving Lee in a last-minute act that cements their bond. The explosion that follows destroys the plates, ending the operation and bringing the entire counterfeit empire crumbling down. Lee is caught in the blast, her fate sealed in a fiery crescendo that marks the true end of the conspiracy. With the villains vanquished and the plot unraveled, there's a moment of silence. The war is over. As the dust settles, we return to the partnership that's held the film together. Carter and Lee, bloodied but triumphant, share a moment of levity. Their bond has evolved, no longer just bickering cops from different worlds. They are now brothers in arms. Carter, having finally seen Lee's world through his eyes, offers more than jokes. He offers respect. Lee, ever the stoic, allows a rare smile to slip through. Theirs is a friendship forged in fire, tested by tragedy, and stronger because of it. And of course, in true rush hour fashion, the story ends not with a somber farewell, but with a laugh. As the two friends decide to enjoy the rest of their time in Vegas, they argue over where to go next. Carter wants to stay, gamble, and party. Lee suggests New York. Their banter is familiar, comforting, and endlessly entertaining. It's a reminder that while the mission may be over, their journey isn't. The adventure continues. The credits roll, and the audience is treated to one of the most beloved traditions of the Rush Hour series: the blooper reel. It's more than just a behind-the-scenes laugh. It's a window into the camaraderie that made the film so special. Jackie Chan flubs his English lines. Chris Tucker breaks character mid-scene with his trademark laugh. They laugh, they stumble, they celebrate. And you can feel it that this wasn't just a movie. It was an experience. By the end of Rush Hour 2, every narrative thread is tied with precision. The counterfeit plot is resolved, the villains face justice, and the emotional wounds from the past begin to heal. But more importantly, the film leaves viewers with something deeper than just resolution. It leaves them with connection. Between two cultures, between two characters, between audience and story. Because that's what Rush Hour 2 does best. It blends laughter with loss, chaos with clarity, and spectacle with soul. It doesn't just tell a story, it makes you feel like you've lived it. Every explosion, every joke, every revelation. It's a roller coaster you don't want to get off. And as the screen fades to black, one thing is certain. This is more than just a buddy cop movie. It's a cultural fusion, an action comedy triumph, and a reminder that great partnerships don't just solve crimes. They change lives. It all begins with a laugh, a sharp, echoing burst of Chris Tucker's voice in the heart of Hong Kong traffic. And suddenly, we're not just watching Rush Hour 2, we're stepping into it. From that moment on, character is everything. The explosions, the mystery, the martial arts, they all orbit around two unforgettable figures, Detective James Carter and Chief Inspector Lee. But this isn't just a story about two cops chasing bad guys across continents. It's a study in contrasts, cultures, and connection. At its core, Rush Hour 2 thrives because of the human heartbeat beneath the chaos, because of the journeys these characters take. Not just through cities and crime scenes, but through their own personal transformations. James Carter is the first to burst through the screen. Stylish, loud, unfiltered. In the beginning, he's convinced he's on vacation, sunglasses and swagger in full effect, as if the world owes him a break. He talks fast, jokes faster, and carries himself with the kind of brash overconfidence that could only belong to someone who's been underestimated his whole life and has learned to weaponize it. But there's more to Carter than one-liners and dancing. Beneath the comedic exterior is a man who wants to be taken seriously, who wants to matter not just in his own city, but on a global stage. And that's what this movie gives him. At first, Carter is out of place in Hong Kong. He mocks the language, the culture, the formality of everything around him. He's a fish out of water, and he knows it. But instead of humility, he responds with even louder antics, clinging to humor as his armor. Yet as the plot thickens, as bullets fly and secrets are revealed, something changes. He begins to listen more. He begins to see the pain Lee carries and understands that there's a history here deeper than duty. His jokes remain, but they're punctuated by moments of real empathy. Moments when he defends Lee, challenges injustice, and stands his ground not just with bravado, but with bravery. Chris Tucker brings Carter to life with a kind of kinetic magic. Every gesture, every word, every eye roll is deliberate, layered, and alive. It's easy to dismiss Carter as comic relief, but Tucker's performance makes it impossible. He turns a loudmouth detective into a complex human being. Flawed, funny, fearless, and, in the end, fiercely loyal. His growth is subtle but undeniable. By the time he saves Lee from certain death in the climax, he's not just a sidekick. He's a hero in his own right. Then there's Chief Inspector Lee, the yin to Carter's yang, the calm to his chaos. From the start, Jackie Chan plays Lee with a quiet intensity. He doesn't need to raise his voice. His silence speaks volumes. Lee carries a kind of emotional gravity, a stoicism born from pain. The death of his father, the betrayal of his former mentor Ricky Tan, these aren't just backstory elements. They are the engine that drives him. His mission in this film isn't just to stop a counterfeiting operation. It's to finally confront the shadows that have haunted him for years. Lee is a man torn between duty and vengeance. When he learns Ricky Tan is alive, his focus sharpens, and we see a darker edge to his normally composed demeanor. Jackie Chan, known for his physicality and stunt work, delivers one of his most emotionally resonant performances here. His stunts remain jaw-dropping, every fight a blend of art and adrenaline. But it's the stillness between the action that makes Lee unforgettable. The pain in his eyes when he talks about his father. The hesitation before he throws a punch at someone he once admired. The way he forgives, even when he doesn't forget. As the story unfolds, Lee slowly begins to open up. Not just to the truth of his past, but to Carter. Their friendship, rocky and reluctant in the first film, deepens here. They argue, they clash, they save each other's lives. And somewhere in the middle of a rooftop chase and a karaoke session, they become something more than partners. They become brothers. It's not a forced bond. It's earned, built on trust, forged in conflict and tested by fire. Chan and Tucker's chemistry is lightning in a bottle, and nowhere is it more evident than in their quiet scenes together. A glance, a joke, a shared drink. These are the moments where the film breathes, where the action stops and the emotion sneaks in. But the heartbeat of Rush Hour 2 isn't just in its leads. The supporting cast adds layers of intrigue and depth to the world around Carter and Lee. Chief among them is Ricky Tan, played with silky menace by John Lone. Tan is a villain cut from a different cloth, elegant, articulate, and always 2 steps ahead. He doesn't snarl or rant. He whispers, he smiles. His evil isn't flamboyant, it's refined. And that makes him all the more dangerous. As a former cop turned criminal mastermind, he embodies betrayal on a personal level for Lee. He's not just the man behind the bombings. He's the man who shattered Lee's world. And Lone's performance captures that duality perfectly. Part mentor, part monster. Then there's Hu Lee, played with chilling precision by Zhang. She speaks little, but her silence is never passive. She moves like a phantom, lethal, elegant, and unflinching. In a film that often leans on comedy and spectacle, Hu Lee is a grounded threat, a true assassin who operates in the shadows. Her presence injects constant danger into the narrative. And though she rarely speaks, every glare, every movement, every strike tells us who she is. Ruthless, loyal, and committed to the cause no matter the cost. Her final moments are not just about stopping the mission, they're about defending it with her life. And let's not forget Isabella Molina. Roselyn Sánchez gives the character more than just beauty. She gives her mystery. At first glance, she's just another glamorous presence at a party. The kind of character who might exist solely to flirt and disappear. But Molina proves to be much more. She's smart, strategic, and plays her cards close. Her motivations are murky, and her loyalties unclear, which keeps Carter and the audience on their toes. She walks a fine line between ally and wild card, and Sánchez's performance ensures that even when she's not speaking, she's commanding attention. In a world dominated by male characters, Molina holds her own with elegance and resolve. Even the minor characters in Rush Hour 2 leave an impression. From Stephen Rain, the duplicitous casino owner, to the bumbling hotel clerks and side characters that populate the Las Vegas underworld, each adds color and texture to the film's tapestry. They're not just filler, they're part of the ecosystem. They help make the world feel lived in, chaotic, and real. But the most powerful transformation in Rush Hour 2 isn't just about character development. It's about connection. Lee, who begins the film consumed by the past, learns to release his pain and trust another. Carter, who arrives in Hong Kong believing the world revolves around his charm, learns to step aside and listen. Together, they redefine what it means to be partners, not by chasing the same goal, but by understanding each other's. Their arc is a shared one, marked by clashes, compromises, and camaraderie. And through it all, their performances carry the story. Jackie Chan's blend of physical grace and emotional restraint. Chris Tucker's explosive energy and surprising vulnerability. Together, they create something rare in action cinema. A duo that doesn't just entertain, but resonates. Their story reminds us that differences don't divide. They enrich. That humor and heart can coexist. That even in the most explosive moments, it's the people, not the punches, that stay with us. So when the final scene rolls, and Carter and Lee argue over karaoke songs in a Vegas lounge, it's not just a callback to their bickering beginnings. It's a celebration of growth, of friendship, of 2 characters who started as opposites and ended as family. It's a reminder that beneath the explosions and stunts, Rush Hour 2 is a character-driven journey. Funny, fast, and full of soul. In the glittering chaos of Rush Hour 2, where jokes fly as fast as fists and explosions punctuate every twist, there exists a quieter layer beneath the surface. One crafted not for the casual viewer, but for those willing to look closer. It's a layer filled with whispers of homage, inside jokes, and symbolic echoes that deepen the film's emotional resonance. These hidden details don't just reward rewatching, they demand it. Because every smirk, every shot, every silence in this film is more deliberate than it first appears. Right from the opening scene in Hong Kong, we're greeted with a setting that's more than just backdrop. It's memory. The vibrant neon-soaked streets don't just showcase the city's energy. They echo the Hong Kong action cinema that defined Jackie Chan's early career. The visual language is a love letter to the genre that birthed him. Look closely and you'll see set design choices that mirror the claustrophobic, labyrinthine alleys of classic martial arts thrillers. The noodle shop Carter dashes into? It's a callback to the setting of Police Story, 1985, where Chan performed some of his most iconic stunts. The posters plastered on the walls, the choice of lighting, even the positioning of bystanders. They all pay quiet homage to that era of cinema. And then there's the music. The score by Lalo Schifrin, a maestro of blending jazz, funk, and cinematic drama, often mirrors not just the mood, but the subtext. During tense moments with Ricky Tan, the underscore becomes minimalist, tense strings, low piano, suggesting not just danger but psychological tension. But during Carter's moments of brash improvisation, you'll hear funky brass riffs and percussion that mimic his unpredictable energy. Even within the soundtrack, each character's inner world is expressed musically, if you're tuned in enough to hear it. Dialogue, too, carries hidden weight. When Lee says to Carter, "My father always said, follow the money." It sounds like a cliché at first, but it's actually a layered reference. It's a nod to All the President's Men, 1976, a film about uncovering corruption by chasing financial trails. That line, dropped almost in passing, signals the method of unraveling the film's mystery. An invitation to the audience to observe not just what the characters are doing, but why the money matters and who benefits from its movement. It also doubles as a thread tying Lee's personal history to the professional plot, where justice for his father and dismantling the counterfeit ring are one and the same. Watch Carter's wardrobe throughout the movie. His outlandish fashion choices, particularly the bright orange suit he wears in Vegas, aren't just for laughs. They're part of a visual metaphor. Carter wants to stand out, to be the star in any room. But as the film progresses and the tone darkens, his wardrobe subtly shifts. Less flamboyant, more tactical. By the climax, he's in dark colors, moving stealthily through the Red Dragon Casino. It mirrors his internal journey from entertainer to protector, from chaos to clarity. The Red Dragon Casino itself is drenched in symbolism. Red, in both Chinese and Western cultures, is a color of power, but it can mean vastly different things. In Chinese culture, red symbolizes luck and prosperity. In Western settings, it often represents danger and temptation. The casino embodies this dual meaning perfectly. It's where Ricky Tan masks his corruption in luxury, where fortunes are made and lost. The dragon imagery throughout the casino's decor isn't random, either. The dragon is a traditional symbol of authority, strength, and imperial power in Chinese mythology. But in this context, it's corrupted, twisted into a front for crime. It reflects how Tan has perverted symbols of heritage and pride into tools of greed. And speaking of dragons, Lee's confrontation with Tan takes place atop the Red Dragon, quite literally putting the two most dominant symbols of power, one rooted in tradition, the other in betrayal, face to face. Their rooftop showdown isn't just a physical fight. It's symbolic. Tan, having climbed to the top through manipulation and deceit, stands at the summit of an empire built on counterfeit values, both literal and moral. Lee, grounded in honor and truth, must climb into that same space to tear it down. That fight becomes a metaphor for reclaiming what was stolen, not just from him but from his culture and code. There's a particularly poignant moment that often goes unnoticed during this fight. As Tan falls from the rooftop, the camera lingers not on his impact, but on Lee's face. The brief flicker of pain in his expression tells a story that words do not. He didn't win, he ended something. And endings, especially when they're tied to past trauma, rarely feel like victories. Meanwhile, Carter's journey is packed with cultural references that sharpen his arc. His insistence on being the star, his obsession with Michael Jackson, and his constant riffing on Black American culture in foreign contexts aren't just comedic flourishes. They're a commentary on cultural dissonance and identity. He's a man trying to assert relevance in a world that often sees him as a joke. But as the story progresses, he stops performing and starts connecting. A great example is the karaoke scene. At first, Carter dominates the mic, all ego and flair. But Lee eventually joins him, not to mock, but to share the moment. It's a bridge-building scene disguised as comic relief. And within that karaoke scene lies a brilliant Easter egg. Carter's rendition of Don't Stop Till You Get Enough is not just a Michael Jackson homage. It's also a callback to the first Rush Hour, where he belted out War in a similar high-energy performance. But here, the vibe has changed. This isn't just Carter showing off. It's Carter celebrating. The same song, different meaning. His character has evolved, and so has the context. Another clever thread weaves through the casting itself. Roselyn Sánchez, who plays Isabella Molina, was relatively unknown at the time, but her casting was strategic. As a Latina actress playing a U.S. Secret Service agent operating in Asia and America, her very presence reflects the global intersectionality the film thrives on. Molina's duality, appearing to be just another flirtatious insider, then revealing her deeper role in the investigation, mirrors the film's own structure. Surface-level fun hiding deeper intrigue. Even Jackie Chan's own career is hidden in plain sight. During a scene in the casino, eagle-eyed viewers might spot a poster for Drunken Master 2, one of Chan's most celebrated Hong Kong films. It's not just a wink to fans. It's a breadcrumb trail, reminding viewers that Lee's fighting style isn't just fantasy. It's rooted in decades of cinematic mastery. And speaking of martial arts, Lee's fight choreography includes specific nods to traditional wushu techniques. Her straight-line attacks, high kicks, and lethal precision signal not just her training, but her origin. These details help distinguish her as a different kind of fighter, cold, controlled, and calculated. Unlike Lee's more improvisational style, there's even clever foreshadowing baked into the dialogue. Early in the film, Carter jokes, "You know I can't swim," a seemingly throwaway line. But later, during the casino explosion, he's nearly drowned in a flood of water, forcing Lee to save him. What was comedy becomes tension. The film turns a joke into a dramatic beat, using Carter's own words as a setup for a moment of vulnerability. Symbolism and foreshadowing sneak into small gestures, too. When Lee gives Carter his father's watch, an object of profound sentimental value, it isn't just an act of trust. It's a transference of legacy. Lee, who once guarded his past like a secret, offers Carter a piece of it. And later, when Carter fights to protect Lee in the casino vault, we realize that the bond forged over that watch is more than symbolic. It's the foundation of everything they've built. Even the blooper reel that closes the film carries thematic weight. It's not just about laughs, it's about transparency. The behind-the-scenes chaos mirrors the film's message. Beneath the polished surfaces, everyone stumbles. Everyone struggles. And yet, together, they create something beautiful. It reinforces the central idea that perfection isn't what connects people. Humor, humanity, and shared experience do. Because Rush Hour 2 isn't just a movie. It's a multi-layered text, a buddy cop thrill ride embedded with cultural reflection, cinematic homage, and character depth. Beneath its crowd-pleasing surface, it invites us to look closer, to listen more carefully, to question what's said and what isn't. Every nod, every callback, every sly reference is a puzzle piece. Put them together and you don't just get a great action comedy. You get a film that's smarter, richer, and far more rewarding than it lets on. Behind every explosive punch and perfectly timed joke in Rush Hour 2, there's a world audiences rarely get to see. A world where chaos brews off camera, where accidents become breakthroughs, and where some of the strangest, funniest, and most unbelievable stories unfold. The finished film is slick and seamless, but the journey there was anything but. To truly appreciate the magic that unfolded on screen, we need to venture backstage into a production filled with eccentric surprises, international tensions, and some jaw-dropping moments that nearly derailed everything. Let's begin in the most unexpected of places. A Las Vegas casino bathroom. Chris Tucker, never one to stay completely within the bounds of a script, had an infamous moment while filming the Red Dragon casino scenes. According to crew members, he insisted on running his lines in the casino's public restroom, pacing back and forth, gesturing wildly to himself in the mirror. Security, not realizing who he was, nearly threw him out multiple times. In classic Tucker fashion, he responded not with anger, but by improvising an entire scene with the security guard, cracking jokes about him being the real villain of the movie. That interaction didn't make the final cut, but the crew joked about writing him into a potential Rush Hour 4 as Sergeant Stahl ever since. But while Tucker was stirring laughs off-screen, Jackie Chan was, unsurprisingly, risking life and limb in the name of cinematic authenticity. Unlike many American productions that protect their stars with stunt doubles and digital effects, Rush Hour 2 relied heavily on Chan's daredevil reputation. During one particularly dangerous stunt, when Chan leaps from a balcony and lands on a moving boat in Hong Kong harbor, the crew actually lost sight of him for a full 10 seconds. Panic erupted. The shot was real. The water was cold. And Jackie had missed the boat's platform by inches, tumbling into the dark harbor instead. Fortunately, he resurfaced moments later with a grin, soaked and slightly bruised, insisting they reset the shot. "Just one more time," he said. "That take made it into the film." If that sounds intense, it's only the beginning. The dynamic between Tucker and Chan is electric on screen, but behind the scenes, it came with some quirks. Jackie Chan, known for his precise timing and methodical approach, was initially baffled by Tucker's improvisational style. He doesn't follow the script, Chan once admitted in an interview, half laughing and half panicking. In the early days of shooting, Chan reportedly had cue cards hidden around the set because he couldn't keep up with Tucker's rapid-fire English. During one outtake, when Tucker went completely off-book, Chan simply shouted, "I don't know what you just said, but okay." A line that made the blooper reel and remains a favorite among fans. That linguistic divide actually influenced several script rewrites. Writers realized the comedy gold wasn't just in the plot, but in the cultural clash between the leads. So they began encouraging more improvisation, letting Tucker be Tucker and letting Chan respond as naturally as possible. What started as a frustration became a strength, one that defined the rhythm of the entire film. Of course, working in two international locations, Hong Kong and Las Vegas, created its own share of chaos. Filming in Hong Kong wasn't as smooth as one might expect, especially since Jackie Chan, despite being a beloved icon, stirred up massive public interest. Every time the crew tried to film a street scene, crowds would gather instantly. On one occasion, more than 1,000 fans flooded a shooting location just to glimpse Chan performing a stunt. Director Ratner had to pivot entirely, changing the location and rewriting a scene overnight to avoid the mob. It wasn't just disruptive, it was dangerous. One overeager fan reportedly dove into the harbor to swim closer to the shoot, requiring rescue by the film's water safety team. Ratner, for all his confidence, wasn't immune to pressure. With Rush Hour becoming a surprise blockbuster, expectations for the sequel were enormous. But what many people don't know is that Ratner wasn't even the studio's first choice for the original film, and his return for the sequel was seen as a gamble. Warner Brothers executives worried he wouldn't be able to handle the scale of a globe-trotting sequel. So Ratner doubled down, shooting faster, leaner, and pushing his crew to the brink. He reportedly slept only 3 hours a night during production. "We were burning out," one assistant recalled, but the energy on set was addictive. It felt like we were building something iconic. And then there was the money. Rush Hour 2 made headlines for being one of the first action comedy sequels where the lead actor, Tucker, was paid more than $20 million. At the time, that was practically unheard of, especially for someone who hadn't headlined many films outside the franchise. But Tucker held out during negotiations, vanishing from the public eye and reportedly retreating to Africa for a soul-searching trip. It became a bizarre legend among Hollywood circles. The actor eventually returned, signed the deal, and delivered a performance that proved he was worth every penny. Yet some say he was never the same. Rumors persist that the pressure of that deal, and the expectations it carried, led him to become more selective with roles afterward, which might explain his extended absence from film after Rush Hour 3. Not all behind-the-scenes stories are wild or funny, though. Some carry unexpected emotion. One such story involves Zhang, who played the fearsome Hu Li. While she was already a major star in Asia thanks to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Rush Hour 2 was her first major Hollywood role. But her English was limited, and the original script didn't offer her many lines. Rather than force awkward dialogue, the filmmakers leaned into her strengths: expression, movement, menace. Her character became a nearly wordless assassin, communicating with lethal precision. That creative pivot turned what could have been a forgettable side villain into one of the film's most iconic presences. Ziyi later revealed that she was terrified on set, not of the stunts or the stars, but of failing in a language she barely understood. Jackie Chan, who saw something of his younger self in her, took her under his wing. The two trained together between takes, not just for fight choreography but for presence. "He helped me find the power in stillness," Ziyi recalled years later. Sometimes doing less says more. Their chemistry, subtle as it is, added layers to their final showdown. Then there was the Vegas incident no one could control, an actual casino robbery. During a break in shooting at the Desert Inn, which served as a stand-in for the Red Dragon, a real-life heist took place just a few blocks away. Security protocols across the strip were instantly tightened, and production was shut down for nearly 2 days. Ironically, the robbers reportedly used counterfeit cash to sneak past certain checkpoints, eerily mirroring the film's plot. The incident spooked several crew members, but Ratner spun it into inspiration. "The city wrote us a subplot," he joked. While they didn't directly adapt the heist, it reinforced how close their fiction was to reality, and how chaotic Vegas could be behind the glamour. Costume design, often overlooked, also had its weird moments. Tucker's orange suit was custom-tailored, with a fabric flown in from Italy specifically for that scene. But during filming, the material reacted poorly under the intense studio lights, creating a bizarre optical illusion. It appeared to shimmer purple in some takes. The crew had to digitally recolor parts of it in post-production to maintain continuity. Tucker, upon learning this, reportedly demanded they let it shimmer. "Let me be magic," he joked. The producers politely declined. One of the more contentious behind-the-scenes battles was about the film's rating. The studio initially wanted Rush Hour 2 to push for a PG rating, hoping to broaden the audience. But Ratner and the writers resisted. They felt that sanitizing the language and violence would gut the film's edge. The debate raged for weeks. Eventually, the creative team won out, keeping the PG-13 rating and preserving Carter's unfiltered mouth and Lee's brutal takedowns. Looking back, that decision helped preserve the authenticity of both characters, and kept the sequel from becoming a neutered version of the original. And speaking of censorship, in mainland China, the film faced multiple edits. Several jokes were altered or removed entirely, particularly those involving government corruption or drug smuggling. But the Chinese release did include one thing the American version didn't: a longer epilogue featuring Lee visiting his father's grave. The scene, though beautifully shot, was cut for pacing in Western markets but left intact in certain international versions. It remains one of the franchise's most elusive deleted scenes. Perhaps the strangest behind-the-scenes story of all, though, is that of the blooper reel. A staple of the Rush Hour franchise, the outtakes were so beloved by fans that the studio allocated budget specifically for capturing them. But this time, things took a turn. One blooper involving Tucker ad-libbing a joke about the Triads allegedly caused diplomatic discomfort with Chinese consultants overseeing cultural accuracy. The studio pulled the clip from the theatrical reel, fearing backlash. Years later, the clip surfaced online and became a cult favorite, proof of how even offhand jokes can have international consequences in a film straddling two cultural worlds. Through all the accidents, improvisations, near misses, and unexpected victories, Rush Hour 2 emerged not just as a successful sequel, but as a lightning-in-a-bottle production. A film where spontaneity reigned, where East met West not just on screen, but behind it, and where every mistake had the potential to become a moment of movie magic. It was messy. It was unpredictable. It was, in every sense of the word, alive. There's a reason why Rush Hour 2 isn't just remembered as a fun sequel. It's remembered as the sequel. The kind that somehow captures lightning twice, amplifies everything fans loved in the original, and still manages to surprise them. And a big part of that magic lies in the film's key moments. The ones that stick, the ones that spark laughter, awe, and sometimes even reflection. These scenes go beyond plot mechanics. They resonate because they hit something deeper, something universal. Let's walk through those moments, not just to see what happens, but to understand why they matter. The film opens in Hong Kong, and it wastes no time reminding us why we're here. Not just for a buddy cop routine, but for the contrast and chemistry between Carter and Lee. One of the first impactful moments comes when Carter, out of his element in Hong Kong, tries to order Chinese food with a brash swagger, mispronouncing everything and getting schooled by the locals. It's classic comedy on the surface, but what makes it special is what lies underneath. Vulnerability. Carter, the loudmouth from LA, suddenly feels like the outsider. It's the first hint that this film will challenge both leads in new environments, flipping the dynamic from the first movie. Lee, who once had to adapt to America, now watches his partner stumble on his own turf. The scene subtly sets the tone. This isn't just a repeat of part one. It's a character evolution. The dynamic truly begins to unfold in the karaoke bar scene. Carter grabbing the mic, belting out Michael Jackson, owning the room. On its face, it's a hilarious set piece. But it's more than that. It's the moment where Carter tries to prove that charisma can overcome culture shock. While Lee is silent, cautious, and measured, Carter performs without fear. The crowd's response, first confusion, then cheers, reflects the film's central idea. Connection comes not from fitting in, but from being fully yourself. In a movie packed with high-speed chases and martial arts sequences, it's remarkable that a goofy karaoke scene stands out as one of the most emotionally rich. But of course, the action scenes are the film's beating heart, and nowhere is that more evident than in the massage parlor fight. Set inside a lavish spa with floor-to-ceiling mirrors and silk robes, the scene begins with a comical misunderstanding. Carter choosing his massage therapist with theatrical flair, but quickly devolves into a brutally choreographed showdown. This moment is peak Rush Hour. Comedy and combat colliding in the same breath. And yet, it's more than entertainment. It reveals the character's growth. Lee moves with a lethal grace, trying to de-escalate. Carter, more competent than before, jumps into the fight with real skill, not just bluster. Their timing is tighter, their trust stronger. It's a visual metaphor for their evolving partnership. They're no longer clashing styles, but complementary forces. Emotionally, few scenes hit harder than the rooftop confrontation between Lee and Ricky Tan. Here, Lee confronts the man he holds responsible for his father's death. It's a rare moment when Jackie Chan sets aside humor and restraint, his voice shaking with quiet fury. Tan, always composed, barely flinches. His power lies in manipulation, not violence. The emotional weight of this scene doesn't come from yelling or theatrics. It comes from restraint. From years of hurt held beneath the surface. As Lee demands answers, we glimpse a raw side of him rarely seen. This isn't about justice anymore. It's personal. It reminds the audience that beneath the banter and punches, there's real pain, real loss, and that the heart of this movie isn't just action. It's legacy, grief, and the unresolved echoes of the past. But the film doesn't dwell in darkness for long. Just when it risks becoming too heavy, it pivots elegantly back into its comic rhythm. One of the most beloved sequences follows. The bomb threat and the exploding yacht. In a scene that could have easily leaned into standard action tropes, Rush Hour 2 keeps its tone tightrope balanced. Lee and Carter find themselves aboard a luxury yacht, tricked by Ricky Tan, just as an explosive device is armed. The tension rises, but the humor remains. Carter's panicked improvisation, trying to throw everything overboard, including the bomb, offers levity in the face of real danger. It's this balance that makes the film so engaging. It never lets suspense overshadow personality. Even as explosions rock the screen, the audience is locked in not because of the stakes, but because of how these two handle them. The visual language of the film also evolves in key scenes. Take the Red Dragon Casino introduction. Neon lights, velvet interiors, synchronized dancers. It's spectacle, yes, but also a thematic marker. This is the crossroads where greed, power, and illusion collide. When Lee and Carter enter this world, they're not just facing another villain. They're walking into a metaphor for everything their enemies represent. Opulence, corruption, distraction. The film's cinematography shifts subtly here. Angles become more surreal, colors more saturated. The casino isn't just a location, it's a psychological arena. A place where everyone's playing a part, and the truth is always hidden beneath a show. That brings us to one of the film's standout comedic moments. Carter's, "I'm Michael Jackson. You Tito?" outburst. This improvised, outrageous, and instantly iconic. But beyond the laugh, it signals something deeper, the breaking point of frustration, the climax of Carter's arc. He's tired of being sidelined, tired of being underestimated. And while he shouts it in jest, it reflects a real longing to be taken seriously. In his own loud, ludicrous way, Carter demands to be seen as an equal, not just Lee's comic sidekick. It's a moment of identity assertion disguised as comedy, and it hits because the audience feels it too. They've seen Carter grow, and they want the world around him to notice. And then there's the climactic fight atop the bamboo scaffolding. A visual masterclass and emotional crescendo rolled into one. As Lee battles Lee, and Carter wrestles with surviving the chaotic freefall, the scene blends acrobatics with urgency. Jackie Chan, as always, does the impossible, climbing, flipping, maneuvering through a structure that seems to collapse beneath his every move. But what elevates this sequence is its symbolism. The fight doesn't just resolve the plot, it resolves Lee's inner conflict. By defeating Lee, he confronts the last remnant of Ricky Tan's empire. But more importantly, he doesn't do it alone. Carter is right there beside him. This is the payoff to everything the film has been building. Trust, partnership, shared purpose. They're no longer an odd couple, they're a team. The final moment in the film, the exchange in the airport, is deceptively simple but critically important. After all the chaos, the jokes, the betrayals, and the beatdowns, the two heroes stand on equal ground. There's no more who's in charge. No more culture clash jokes. Just two men who've been through hell and still choose to stick together. It's the kind of quiet, emotional payoff many action films skip. But Rush Hour 2 lingers there, just long enough to let it land. And what of the audience reaction? This is where the film truly thrives. These key moments sparked more than just applause. They became part of pop culture's DNA. From late-night hosts quoting the Tito line to fans reenacting the karaoke scene on social media decades later, the movie didn't just entertain. It imprinted. It taught viewers that comedy could coexist with stakes, that action could be graceful, that heroes didn't need to be the same to be united. And more than anything, it showed how character chemistry could carry a film across continents, genres, and cultures. Critically, Rush Hour may second not have rewritten cinema's rulebook, but it didn't need to. It mastered the art of escalation. It deepened character arcs without dragging. It built spectacle on the bones of real emotion. And every key scene, every song, punchline, and twist was designed not just to move the plot, but to reveal something more. Something that audiences felt, even if they couldn't articulate it. Looking back, it's clear that Rush Hour 2 thrives not because of its genre, but because of its heart. The most impactful moments don't hit with a bang. They land with meaning. They're the reason we keep revisiting this film. Not just to laugh, not just to marvel at the action, but to feel the evolution of a friendship that started as a culture clash and became one of the most beloved duos in cinema. If Rush Hour 2 feels like it moves with the precision of a well-oiled machine, it's because behind the scenes it was exactly that. A finely calibrated blend of old-school action know-how, improvisational brilliance, and technical experimentation that pushed the buddy cop formula into new territory. For all its comedy and chaotic charm, the movie's final form didn't come easy. Every scene we remember, from Hong Kong rooftops to Las Vegas showrooms, was the result of meticulous planning, unexpected hurdles, and moments of sheer creative alchemy. The success of the film didn't rest only on Jackie Chan's kicks or Chris Tucker's timing. It came from what happened when the camera wasn't rolling. Director Brett Ratner, returning from the first film's success, had a massive challenge in front of him. Sequels are notoriously tricky. Audiences want the same magic but with something new. And Ratner's vision was clear from the outset. He didn't want to just raise the stakes. He wanted to take Rush Hour global. That meant pushing every department, from cinematography to stunt work, to think bigger and shoot smarter. The decision to open in Hong Kong wasn't just a narrative twist. It was a technical and cultural leap. Jackie Chan, ever the perfectionist, had home field advantage, but the American crew did not. Navigating the densely packed city streets, securing permits for high-traffic areas, and coordinating large-scale sequences amid a language barrier was no small task. One of the most intense production hurdles came during the shoot at the Peninsula Hotel, a historic luxury location that rarely allows film crews. Ratner convinced them with Chan's involvement, but the team had limited time and immense restrictions. Every dolly track, every lighting setup had to be executed swiftly with minimal intrusion. Somehow, they pulled it off, and the elegance of the setting lent the film its high society sheen. And then came the infamous massage parlor sequence. What looks like a free-flowing brawl in silk robes was actually a nightmare to choreograph. The mirrors? Real. The breakables? Expensive. The time? Ticking. Jackie Chan, known for doing his own stunts, insisted on multiple takes to get the rhythm just right. The problem? Every mirror that broke had to be replaced, cleaned, and made safe over and over again. And still, the sequence had to feel effortless. Tucker, though less physically trained, kept up with Chan's pace thanks to weeks of rehearsals. What's remarkable is that the humor we see on screen, the comedic chaos as they fight a dozen robe-clad henchmen, was built on discipline. Tucker would often improvise lines during action beats, forcing the stunt team to freeze mid-motion or break into laughter. Chan, ever the professional, played along while ensuring the timing stayed razor-sharp. If Chan brought discipline, Tucker brought unpredictability, and the film's editors had their work cut out for them. One of the most demanding technical achievements was balancing Tucker's improvised genius with the tightly choreographed flow of each scene. In the karaoke bar moment, for instance, he changed his routine in nearly every take, switching lyrics, tossing in new dance moves, or ad-libbing entire lines. This left the sound team and editors scrambling to sync dialogue with music while preserving comedic rhythm. Took days longer to lock the final cut. But the result? A scene that feels spontaneous and electric, even on the 20th viewing. On the visual side, cinematographer Matthew F. Leonetti embraced a slick, cinematic palette that contrasted deliberately with the grittier tone of the first film. Hong Kong was bathed in golden light and neon blues, while Las Vegas burst with jewel-toned excess. The shift wasn't just aesthetic. It mirrored the story's arc. As the plot moved from personal revenge to global corruption, the visuals became more surreal, almost dreamlike. The Red Dragon Casino, for instance, was a masterstroke of production design. While some interior shots were filmed in an actual Vegas casino, many were recreated on soundstages with painstaking detail. Designer Rob Wilson King and his team studied real casino architecture to replicate the grandeur, including hidden passages and backstage areas where the final act would unfold. Each detail served a purpose. Every red carpet and golden dragon symbol echoed the theme of deception behind wealth. Then there's the bamboo scaffold fight, the film's ultimate showcase of technical and physical synergy. Shot high above the streets, the sequence is a marvel of practical effects and fearless stunt work. Jackie Chan, as always, performed every movement himself. But this time, the stakes were even higher. The bamboo structure was real, built by a team of specialists who used traditional methods to create something authentic but secure. Still, every movement risked collapse. Chan worked closely with second unit director and longtime collaborator Stanley Tong to map out each swing, slide, and fall. What makes this scene particularly special is that nothing was generated in post. There were no CGI enhancements, no green screens. What the audience sees. Chan teetering between floors, ducking under poles, flipping over gaps. It's all captured in camera. It's a throwback to a kind of filmmaking rarely seen anymore. Raw, risky, and real. Sound design also played a silent but crucial role. One of the more subtle technical victories was the way Foley and audio mixing were used to enhance the rhythm of both comedy and combat. In the fight scenes, every punch has a slightly exaggerated thud. Not cartoonish, but stylized, giving the choreography a snappy, almost musical quality. Meanwhile, ambient sounds in crowded streets or casinos were recorded live, rather than layered in later. This gave each setting a richer authenticity. You can hear footsteps echo differently in the spa than in the Red Dragon's marble halls. These micro-decisions, unnoticed by most viewers, subconsciously draw us deeper into the film's world. And of course, there's the music. Oh, the music. Composed by Lalo Schifrin, the score walks a fine line between East and West, action and jazz, suspense and swagger. Schifrin, who also scored the first film, leaned heavier into traditional Chinese instruments this time, blending Eru melodies with modern percussion. It's a sonic metaphor for the film itself, a fusion of cultures, tones, and tempos. In moments of tension, the music tightens. Taiko drums rumble, zither flicker. But in scenes like the Las Vegas escape or Carter's dance routines, it swings. It knows when to lean into danger and when to let go. But while the technical achievements are staggering, the production also had its share of chaos and comedy. One little-known challenge involved the boat explosion scene. The yacht was real. The explosion, not so much, at least not on the first attempt. During the initial shoot, the pyrotechnics misfired, resulting in what crew members described as a wet fart of smoke. Ratner, furious but laughing, had to delay the shoot for 3 days while the team recalibrated the charges. When it finally went off correctly, the blast was so loud it set off car alarms across the harbor. Chan didn't flinch. Tucker ran for cover, screaming, unscripted. That take made it into the film. Another memorable moment came during a night shoot in Hong Kong when Chan attempted to leap between 2 rooftops. A sudden wind gust shifted one of the landing pads, and the entire crew froze. Chan landed safely, of course, he always does, but the scare prompted a rare pause. He turned to the crew and simply said, "Maybe next time, wires." They still did the shot without them. Behind the cameras, Ratner's directing style was famously chaotic but infectious. He encouraged on-set improvisation, especially between Tucker and Chan. Many of the movie's funniest lines came from off-the-cuff exchanges. But that meant the script was constantly evolving, even during filming. For the crew, this was a logistical headache. Continuity was hard to track. Lighting setups had to adapt to spontaneous rewrites. But that spontaneity is part of what makes the film feel alive. You can see it in the actors' eyes. They're not reciting lines. They're reacting in real time. And that brings us to something technical but crucial: editing. Mark Helfrich, the film's editor, had the Herculean task of stitching together scenes that were never shot the same way twice. Comedy, especially, is timing. And Helfrich had to build that timing from endless combinations, selecting the perfect reaction shot from one take, the best delivery from another. In action scenes, the edit had to preserve clarity while maintaining speed. This is where Rush Hour 2 excels. You never lose sight of the geography. You always know who's where, doing what. The cuts enhance movement, they don't obscure it. In an era where fight scenes often drown in shaky cams and rapid edits, Rush Hour 2 kept things legible and thrilling. It's easy to think of a movie like this as pure fun, a popcorn flick. But the craft involved is anything but casual. It's deliberate, from the costume design that evolved with each city, to the camera rigs used for tracking shots through crowded alleys. Every choice was tailored to tell the story visually, viscerally, and vividly. Even the blooper reel, Those now iconic end credits that show the actors flubbing lines or cracking up was a carefully constructed piece of branding. It reminded audiences of the human side of movie making, that this wasn't just a polished product. It was a process, one filled with stumbles, laughs, and brilliance. So yes, Rush Hour may second dazzle with its explosions and punchlines, but it endures because of what's beneath. A symphony of technical choices made with precision and passion. Every light, every lens, every laugh had to be earned, adjusted, and sometimes improvised. That effort doesn't just live in the background. It's baked into every frame. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's easy to watch Rush Hour 2 and get swept up in the gunfights, the lightning-quick martial arts, and Chris Tucker's mile-a-minute jokes. But beneath all that stylish action and wild comedy lies a story that resonates with deeper meaning. This isn't just about cops chasing bad guys or an East meets West buddy comedy. Rush Hour 2, sometimes subtly, sometimes boldly, taps into themes of identity, loyalty, power, and cultural collision. At its core, it's about two men trying to navigate a world they don't fully understand, uncovering truths about themselves and each other in the process. What makes the movie clever isn't that it wears these themes on its sleeve. It's that they're built into the rhythm of every scene, every conflict, and every moment of humor. From the opening moments in Hong Kong, the film immediately positions Carter and Lee in unfamiliar territory. Not just geographically, but emotionally. Carter wants a vacation. Lee wants justice. But they're both in a place where the rules are different, the customs are foreign, and the air itself feels charged with something they can't quite name. That sense of displacement, the feeling of being out of place yet drawn towards something bigger, echoes one of the film's central themes: the search for belonging. Lee is home, technically, but haunted by the loss of his father and the hidden corruption tied to his past. Carter, on the other hand, is on foreign soil, full of swagger but without direction. They're both looking for grounding. What unfolds isn't just a mystery. It's a mutual journey toward understanding. And understanding in Rush Hour 2 comes through collision. The film thrives on the friction between cultures. The East-West dynamic isn't just a setup for jokes. It's a commentary on the very nature of partnership and perspective. When Carter mocks the local cuisine or Lee struggles with Carter's slang, it isn't just comic relief. It's a reflection of how deeply cultural habits shape perception. Yet, as the film progresses, both men learn to see through each other's eyes. Carter starts to respect the silence and discipline in Lee's world. Lee begins to embrace Carter's flair and improvisation. Their journey isn't just physical, it's philosophical. By the end, their communication transcends language or tradition. They don't become the same, they become more aware. There's a symbolic rhythm in this duality. Throughout the film, we constantly see doubles, mirrors in the spa fight, twin dragons at the casino, even the dual identities of characters like Hu Li and Ricky Tan. These aren't just visual flourishes. They reinforce the film's core idea, that nothing is quite what it seems, and everyone has two sides. Lee is both a cop and a son seeking closure. Carter is both comic relief and emotional grounding. Ricky Tan is both charming and deadly. Even Isabella Molina, the U.S. Secret Service agent, lives in this tension, her allegiance uncertain, her motives layered. These dualities invite the audience to look deeper, to question surface impressions and embrace complexity. And then there's Las Vegas. The shift to Vegas isn't just geographical. It's thematic. Hong Kong is history, legacy, honor. Vegas is illusion, excess, greed. The Red Dragon Casino isn't just a setting. It's a metaphor. A palace built on deception, wrapped in glamour. It represents the seductive power of wealth and the dangerous lengths people go to obtain it. It's no accident that the final showdown happens here. Vegas strips away the layers. It's where true loyalties are revealed and facades crumble. Ricky Tan's empire isn't built on strength. It's built on manipulation. And in that, the film critiques more than just crime. It critiques power itself. It asks, what happens when wealth becomes a weapon? When symbols of success like gold, suits, casinos, mask corruption? That symbolic thread continues in the action scenes. Every fight in Rush Hour 2 is more than just a spectacle. it's an expression of character. The bamboo scaffolding battle, for instance, isn't just thrilling. It's symbolic. It represents balance, fragility, and tradition. Chan's movements are precise, respectful of his environment. It's a dance, not just a fight. Contrast that with the flashy, chaotic shootout in Vegas, where Carter fires wildly and shouts jokes mid-battle. One fight is grounded in heritage, the other in raw instinct. And yet, both are effective. The message is clear. There's strength in difference. The world doesn't need to choose between tradition and change. It needs to find a way for both to coexist. At a deeper level, the film also wrestles with legacy, especially through Lee's character. The loss of his father looms large, not just as a personal tragedy but as a shadow over his moral compass. Lee isn't just chasing Tan because of duty, he's chasing a ghost. He wants answers, closure. And in doing so, he becomes emblematic of a broader human truth. We are all shaped by the legacies we inherit, and often driven by the need to redefine them. Tan, in contrast, represents the opposite. He inherits power and perverts it. He uses his father's connections to fuel corruption rather than justice. Their conflict is Shakespearean in structure. Two men bound by history, taking opposite paths. Meanwhile, Carter's arc quietly explores themes of respect and recognition. In America, he's often dismissed, loud, impulsive, underestimated. In Hong Kong, he's even more out of place. Yet by the end, he earns the trust of not just Lee, but the audience. He may clown around, but he's got grit. And through him, the film addresses something more universal, the struggle to be seen for who you truly are. Carter doesn't need to become serious. He just needs others to realize that his levity masks loyalty, that his jokes are a shield. This layering turns what could be a one-note sidekick into a fully formed character, and in doing so, reflects a subtle critique of how society often judges worth, by decorum rather than depth. And that's where the film's social commentary really shines. Beneath the fast-talking, explosive surface is a film that subtly challenges assumptions. About race, about power, about culture. The very idea of a Hong Kong cop and an African-American detective teaming up to unravel an international conspiracy would have been rare in 2001. And yet Rush Hour 2 doesn't just present it as plausible. Presents it as essential. Their partnership isn't just unlikely, it's necessary to solve the crime. The narrative makes a quiet but profound statement. Cross-cultural cooperation isn't just possible, it's powerful. And often, it's the only path to justice. Even the villains speak to this. Ricky Tan is a symbol of corruption that transcends borders. He operates between Hong Kong and the US, laundering money and manipulating systems in both. His role isn't localized, it's global. And in that, the film reflects a reality that was becoming increasingly clear in the early 2000s. That crime, like commerce, knows no borders. That villains aren't always in shadows. They're in boardrooms, casinos, and suits. This globalized villainy forces our heroes to adapt, to think beyond their jurisdictions, and to realize that justice isn't just a matter of law, it's a matter of integrity. Even Isabella Molina's character serves a symbolic role in this thematic structure. As a Latina Secret Service agent in a male-dominated world, she's constantly doubted, even as she holds the key to unraveling the plot. She operates in the shadows, not out of weakness but because the world has forced her to. Her very presence challenges the notion of who gets to be the hero in an action movie. And when she reveals her true role, not a love interest, but an undercover operative, it's a narrative shift with symbolic weight. She's not there to complete the heroes. She's part of the engine driving them forward. At a societal level, Rush Hour 2 plays with perceptions of otherness. By placing both protagonists in settings where they don't fully belong, it turns the lens back on the audience. When Carter mocks Chinese customs or Lee is baffled by Las Vegas showgirls, we laugh. But we also recognize something universal. That feeling of being out of sync, of trying to navigate a world built on different rules. It's a comedic take on a deeper human condition. The desire to belong in a world that doesn't always welcome you. The film doesn't moralize about this, it lets the comedy do the work. But the message is clear. Respect grows from exposure. Understanding grows from experience. And then, in the end, we return to the core symbol, partnership. What begins as a mismatched duo becomes a bond forged in fire. And that transformation, built through conflict, trust, and mutual sacrifice, is the heart of the film's message. That connection transcends culture. That laughter and loyalty can break barriers. That two people, wildly different in background and temperament, can not only work together, they can save the world together. So, while Rush Hour may second dazzle with its style and speed, it endures because it speaks to something real. It's not a lecture. It's a dance, a chase, a joke. But within that momentum lives a truth. We are better together, stronger when we listen, and wiser when we laugh at ourselves. The symbols are all there, the dragons, the mirrors, the scaffolds, but they don't stand apart from the story. They are the story. And once you see them, you realize Rush Hour 2 isn't just an action comedy. It's a story about people navigating chaos, finding balance, and learning that the world, in all its madness, makes a little more sense when you've got someone watching your back. From the moment Rush Hour 2 opens against the shimmering skyline of Hong Kong, it's clear that this film isn't content to simply coast on the charm of its leading men or the familiarity of its buddy cop framework. There's a kinetic energy pulsing through every frame, a visual rhythm that complements the fast-talking banter and split-second fight choreography. Brett Ratner, the film's director, may be best known for his commercial instincts, but here he reveals a sharp eye for detail and a deep respect for visual pacing. The movie doesn't just tell a story, it shows it, through a series of cinematic decisions that create a world both vibrant and alive. Hong Kong is more than just a setting in the opening act. It's a character in itself. The cinematography, handled by Matthew F. Leonetti, captures the city's chaotic elegance. Neon signs reflect off rain-slicked streets, creating a sense of perpetual motion even when the camera lingers. Rooftop chases are framed wide to reveal the sprawl and density of the city, while narrow alleyways trap the characters in close-ups, emphasizing tension and unpredictability. That contrast in scale mirrors the duality of the film's tone. Grand spectacle one moment, intimate danger the next. Hong Kong breathes in this movie. Bright, buzzing, unpredictable. And Leonetti's lens makes sure the audience feels its pulse. Ratner's direction is unpretentious, but deceptively tight. He knows exactly when to hold a shot for comedic timing and when to cut for impact. In a movie that frequently shifts tone, from high-stakes tension to slapstick humor, this balance is crucial. Take, for example, the spa fight scene. It's not just a standout action set piece. It's a masterclass in spatial awareness and timing. The camera glides through the room with deliberate clarity, never losing track of who's where, even as bodies fly and fists land. The edits come fast, but not frantic. There's a rhythm, anchored by Jackie Chan's choreography, that turns potential chaos into visual harmony. Jackie Chan, of course, brings his own brand of cinematic storytelling to every movement. His choreography is a language, precise, expressive, and full of narrative intent. Chan isn't just fighting, he's reacting, adapting, improvising, and the camera knows when to back off and let him work. This is especially notable in the bamboo scaffolding sequence. Instead of cutting between 10 angles, Ratner and his team allow extended takes, letting Jackie's body tell the story. The bamboo poles sway, splinter, and bounce underfoot, not just as props, but as extensions of character and tension. The viewer doesn't just watch the scene, they feel the physics of it. On the other side of that dynamic is Chris Tucker, whose physical comedy is just as visual. Whether he's leaping backward in horror at a sword-wielding opponent or fumbling through a Vegas shootout, Tucker's body is always in motion. His exaggerated reactions and expressive face bring a different kind of rhythm to the film, one grounded in comedy, not combat. The camera often lingers on him just a beat longer than necessary, allowing his comedic timing to land fully. There's a deliberate choice here. Tucker is never just the sidekick in the frame. He owns his moments, and the cinematography reinforces that. Color grading plays an understated yet pivotal role in defining mood and location. In Hong Kong, the palette is rich with golds, reds, and neon blues, invoking both tradition and urban modernity. This color vibrancy enhances the feeling that the city is always alive, always moving. When the narrative shifts to Las Vegas, the tones become glossier, colder. The Red Dragon Casino, with its deep crimsons and glittering surfaces, feels slick but superficial, a visual metaphor for the lies hidden beneath luxury. The lighting in Vegas sequences is harsher, more artificial, underscoring the illusion at the story's core. Even the shadows feel theatrical, as if the city itself is putting on a show. And then there's the music. Lalo Schifrin's score returns, infusing the film with that signature blend of jazz, funk, and traditional Asian instrumentation. But where Rush Hour 1 leaned more into urban beats, Rush Hour 2 adapts its musical identity to match its expanded world. Eastern motifs rise subtly during moments of reflection or tension in Hong Kong, while Vegas brings in bombastic brass and swing. The soundtrack doesn't just set mood, it mirrors character journeys. When Lee walks through the city at night, the music slows, becoming contemplative. When Carter bursts into a club, the tempo spikes, matching his energy. Music becomes a form of emotional punctuation. But it's not just score that carries the sonic weight. Sound design in Rush Hour 2 is rich with texture. The clash of bamboo poles, the clinking of casino chips, the hum of neon. Each sound cue adds depth. Even in comedic scenes, there's a precision to what we hear. Tucker's high-pitched screams are matched with muffled background chaos, keeping the focus on him. In quieter moments, like Lee's introspective scenes reflecting on his father, ambient noise fades, replaced by subtle musical tones. This oral shift allows the film to momentarily shift genre, from action comedy to emotional drama, without losing cohesion. Editing, too, plays a silent but powerful role in how the story is told. The pacing never drags, and transitions between scenes often carry visual echoes, matching movement from one location to another. For instance, when a scene ends with Lee flipping midair, the next might begin with Carter falling into a chair. These visual callbacks aren't just stylish, they subconsciously connect their worlds. Even in their separations, Carter and Lee are bound by mirrored motion. Their arcs move in tandem, and the editing rhythm reinforces that synchronicity. The casino finale is where all these elements collide in full force. Lighting becomes theatrical, almost noir-like in its contrasts. The set design of the vault and the Red Dragon theme echo motifs from earlier scenes, bringing a circularity to the film's visual language. Explosions are timed not just for spectacle, but for emotional climax. When Huli meets her fate, it isn't just another villain dispatch. It's framed like a final note in a symphony. The camera lingers on the flames, the debris, the falling silence, marking a turning point not just in the plot, but in the emotional resolution of Lee's vendetta. Camera movement also reflects character states. In the beginning, tracking shots are more erratic, matching Carter's chaotic energy and Lee's internal unrest. As the film progresses and their bond deepens, camera work becomes smoother, more confident. When they leap from the casino window and land on the casino sign below, the camera cranes down gently with them, not in shock, but in solidarity. It's a triumphant moment, and the visuals reflect that unity. Costume design, though often overlooked, subtly reinforces characterization. Lee is almost always in dark, tightly tailored suits, impeccable, controlled. Carter, in contrast, opts for louder patterns, bold colors, flamboyant but expressive. Their clothes speak for them before they do, and as the film progresses, there's a soft convergence. By the final act, both are dressed in darker tones, more aligned. The transformation is subtle, but it echoes their journey toward mutual understanding. Production design across the film leans into cultural motifs without veering into caricature. The Chinese tea house isn't just a scenic location, it's filled with historical textures. Carved wood, ancestral scrolls, and aged stone. Each set feels lived in, not just placed. In contrast, Vegas locations are sharp-edged, clean, and opulent, but also artificial. Everything is too polished, too symmetrical. The contrast between these spaces, the organic versus the synthetic, tells its own story about authenticity, about where truth resides. The visual storytelling in Rush Hour 2 also relies heavily on nonverbal cues. Watch how Lee's eyes shift when Ricky Tan enters the scene. There's a history there, unspoken but visible. Or how Carter's body tightens whenever he feels dismissed, even before he delivers a joke. These are directorial choices, moments allowed to breathe. Ratner gives his actors space to communicate without lines, trusting the camera to pick up nuance. That restraint, rare in blockbuster filmmaking, is part of what gives Rush Hour 2 its longevity. It's not just noise and flash. There's intent behind every shot. Even transitions are often thematic. A scene of chaos might cut to a moment of stillness, underscoring consequences. Or vice versa. A quiet confession might be shattered by sudden violence. These contrasts heighten impact, keeping the audience emotionally engaged. It's a trick borrowed from Hong Kong action cinema, where tonal shifts are embraced rather than avoided. Ratner and his editors understand this dynamic, and they wield it well. Ultimately, the cinematic techniques of Rush Hour 2 do more than elevate the spectacle. They reinforce the story's core themes. The balance between Carter's chaos and Lee's control is mirrored in the film's editing rhythm. The contrast between tradition and modernity plays out in the sets and color palettes. Even the soundscape reflects inner turmoil and outer escalation. It's a movie that wears its energy loudly but embeds its craft quietly. There's a reason audiences return to it, not just for the laughs or the action, but for the way it feels. The confidence of its visual language, the clarity of its cinematic voice. Brett Ratner may not be a director synonymous with auteur theory, but with Rush Hour 2, he demonstrates that spectacle and substance aren't opposites, they're partners. Much like Carter and Lee, the film finds its power in unlikely balance. And that, more than any explosion or punchline, is what makes its storytelling stick. There's something unmistakably electric about the way Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker light up the screen together. From their first exchanged glances to their final leap off a Las Vegas casino sign, their chemistry isn't just a byproduct of casting luck. It's the engine that drives Rush Hour 2 forward at breakneck speed. On the surface, it seems like a classic odd couple. The disciplined, soft-spoken Hong Kong detective and the brash, fast-talking LAPD cop. But that contrast only scratches the surface of a much deeper alchemy. One born from mutual respect, cultural curiosity, and a shared commitment to making every scene land with both precision and joy. What's most remarkable about Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker is how different their performance styles are, and yet, how seamlessly they fuse. Chan, a seasoned performer with decades of martial arts choreography behind him, approaches action with careful calculation. Every move is practiced, polished, and intentional. Tucker, on the other hand, operates like a jazz musician. His dialogue is loose, riff-heavy, and unpredictable, often stretching the boundaries of the script. One of the film's editors famously remarked that no two takes with Tucker were ever the same. And yet, somehow, instead of clashing, these two energies swirl around each other like fire and oxygen. Their off-screen friendship played a huge role in how that dynamic translated on screen. During production, Jackie and Chris spent time together not just on set, but between takes, sharing meals, learning about each other's backgrounds, even teaching each other bits of language. Chan once mentioned in an interview that he'd never heard someone talk so fast in his life as Tucker, and he found it both baffling and hilarious. Tucker, in turn, was in awe of Chan's ability to make a scene physically funny without saying a word. That mutual admiration translated into a unique rhythm on screen, where timing, even across language and style, became almost instinctual. Their chemistry became the gravitational center of the set. Director Brett Ratner leaned into this, often letting scenes run long if the two stars were on a roll. Improvisation was not only allowed, it was encouraged. One legendary moment that made it into the final cut was Tucker's "You got knocked the expletive out" line during the spa fight. It was improvised on the spot, and Ratner, barely containing his laughter behind the monitor, immediately knew it had to stay. These unscripted moments became part of the film's DNA, giving it an unpredictable, almost live-wire feel.